So we'll just move to our last presentation today from FMR Resources, code is FMR, as an ASX-listed exploration company focused on discovering and developing critical minerals that power the global clean energy transition, led by its flagship Llahuin copper-gold-molybdenum project in Chile. FMR's core strategy is to identify and explore assets that move the needle in the global supply of critical minerals. I'm here to talk about the company today is FMR's Managing Director, Oliver Kiddie. Please take it away, Oliver.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks everybody for dialing in and listening to the FMR story, which is a very new story. I'll take you through our transaction, which we put to the ASX in an announcement on the 16th of June, and we've had a very aggressive time frame since then. And I'll talk to the results and the upcoming drilling. Just a quick overview of the FMR corporate snapshot. We've got just shy of 41 million shares on issue, a market cap of around 16 mil at 40 cents. I think we're just north of that today. We've got cash of just over 4.2 mil, gives us an EV of around 12 million, so it's still very lowly valued. The board of directors, Pat Burke, corporate lawyer, myself, Geo, Justin Werner, needs no introduction internationally. He's the managing director of Nickel Industries, so a plus $3.5 billion company, the largest exclusive nickel producer on the planet. Bill Oliver, Geo, and Ian Hobson, our co-sec. As part of bringing the new asset in, the Chilean Llahuin project, into FMR, we restructured the company. You can see the major shareholders there, the big name there being Mark Creasy. So I pitched this to Mark Creasy. He got exactly what we were trying to do at FMR and was very happy to jump on board. And you can see there, he has gone substantial. A quick overview of the FMR strategy. We're looking to identify these assets that move the needle. This Llahuin project that I'll talk to today is a perfect example of that. We'll leverage off our corporate ability, technical ability, and our register strength to transact on these assets that we identify and get out there and discover. So value add through the drill bit. So quickly onto the project itself. So the acquisition is the Llahuin joint venture. So we've signed a binding term sheet with Southern Hemisphere Mining, their ASX-listed, ASX SUH. We can earn up to 60% across 4 concessions of the Llahuin project, so the southern portion of the Llahuin project. We need to spend 3 million and drill 6,000 meters to earn 50%. To earn 60%, we spend another 10 and 2.5 in cash or script, but have post that it's reversed to pro forma. So SUH FMR equals spend. We have in-country expatriate management as part of the deal, and I think the 2 most important things on this slide to take away, we have a community agreement in place, and exactly where we are in Chile. We're not high Andes plus 4.5, 5,000 meters like the Filo del Sols of the world. We're down on the flat on the coastal Cordillera. We're 1,200 to 1,500 meters above sea level. This is an area that's really rich in infrastructure. We're 350 k's north of Santiago, 24 k's from the town of Combabala, that's circa 13,000 people. We're 5 k's from grid power, 20 k's from a sealed airstrip, and 200 k's to the nearest port. The Llahuin project itself, it really does sit in the land of the giants. We're 65 k's away from Los Pelambres, which is a giant deposit, 5.8 billion tonnes at about 0.53 copper, owned by Antofagasta. A very interesting mid-sized deposit, which sits literally 8 kilometres to the west of Llahuin, is El Espino. That's owned by Pucobre. That's circa 230 million tonnes at about that 0.59 copper equivalent. Interestingly, RCF tipped in 90 million for 23% of that. That's 90 million US for 23% of that project in December last year. So we've got a developing mine looking to produce in 2027, literally 8 k's from where we're exploring. The Llahuin project itself has already got proven fertility. We've got a plus 6 kilometre long corridor with porphyries already identified and resources around 3 resources that have been delineated to date by Southern Hemisphere. Southern Hemisphere had a resource of a global resource of 169 million tonnes at 0.43 copper equivalent. They've just increased that to 218 million tonnes at around the same grade, with an exploration target on top of that to plus 300 million tonnes. So you can see a growing resources base for SUH. The deal that we've done with FMR is to come in and look at the blue sky potential from an exploration side of things. The first target that we're looking to test among many is this giant southern porphyry target, which I'll talk to in this presentation. It's a very large geochemical, geophysical anomaly. The geophysics suggests that it's at least 1.5 k's by 1.5 k's, and the porphyry itself has not been drill tested at depth. The other important thing is we're just not about the southern porphyry target. We've been out on ground since completing the transaction. We've got a growing pipeline of untested targets, which we will release to the market as we complete the work over the coming months. The project itself, you can see here the defined resources of Southern Hemisphere, the central Cerro and Ferro deposits, which sit north of our joint venture. The deal came with some very, very good data sets. The most recent of which is this magnetotelluric survey, which was completed in December last year, and that's really driving what we believe are the dimensions of this very large porphyry system at depth. Since completing the transaction, we've been out on the ground and done some field checking, some validation of geochemical data and some surface mapping there. As part of the surface mapping, geological mapping, structural mapping that was completed, we released this to the market. We identified some alteration signatures that we can see at surface where this porphyry actually outcrops. The alteration assemblages that we're seeing at surface, the argillic style alteration, the silicification in the shallow drilling suggest that we're dealing with a porphyry system, but very, very high in this porphyry system. In addition to that, there's a series of geophysical targets, geophysical data sets that came with the project, namely the MT, which is the most recent, which you can see here on the left-hand side of screen. So the green outline there is the high resistivity zone of the MT survey. So that's circa 1.2 k across, and that's the core of this system, of this MT target. We've got these coincidental data sets, the IP resistivity, the IP chargeability, the MT resistivity, all overlapping with the magnetics and the geochem at surface and the geology telling us that we've got an outcropping porphyry. We've got these overlapping data sets, which are pretty well characteristic of a very large copper porphyry system. It's not just the geochemical and the geophysical targets. There is some shallow drilling here that has been completed across the southern porphyry target. There's been 6 shallow drill holes completed, 5 of which are drilled to less than 200 metres. Hole 24, which was completed back in 2022, targeting a geochem anomaly. You can see on the right-hand side of screen here some of the mineralisation, the copper mineralisation that was intersected in this hole. So you've got about 5 metres running about 0.5% copper there, which you can see the drill hole just skimmed down the edge of this chargeability feature and into the edge of this magnetic feature from the mag model. You can see the MT model continuing at depth, lining up with the red IP resistivity anomalies here, which make it a very, very compelling target. So the compelling drill target is obviously this MT at depth, but we've got really good confidence that we're dealing with a very fertile porphyry system. You only need to look next door at the central Cerro and Ferro deposits. There's some really, really good mineralisation there, obviously, in terms of what's been delineated in terms of a resource base today, but also the grade within those resources. There is some high-grade material in Central and Cerro. You can see here some of the historic drilling up to nearly 1.5% copper equivalent at depth as you get into the core of these porphyries. So we're confident that we're dealing with a porphyry and it is mineralised. Of those 6 shallow drill holes that I talked to into the geochem and IP features of Southern Porphyry, hole 38 drilled in 2023 hit 164 metres at 0.16 copper equivalent from 2 metres. Now, that's clearly not economic in grade, but it does tell you within a fertile porphyry system. The lower third of that drill hole actually finished in porphyry with 2 metres at 1.45% copper equivalent. So that's that validation that this porphyry is actually carrying some good grade. So first phase drilling for Southern Porphyry. We've planned 4,000 metres of drilling, a minimum of 4,000 metres of drilling across 4 targets. You can see here, target A on the left-hand side of screen, target A stepping right back up high on the mountain, coming back down through to test all of these models, a mixture of the IP chargeability, the IP resistivity, down the edge of the mag feature and into the MT at depth. Target area D is nearly 1 kilometre away back to the west, testing where this MT anomaly appears to project very shallow, continuing on through to the MT anomaly at depth. Target area A will take down to a depth of 1,600 metres, but we're setting these drill holes up with the flexibility to drill a parent hole with daughters off. So we can pull back to some 800-900 metres in this drill hole, fan off and drill 6 to 8 daughter holes off the bottom of this, which allows us to test additional features outside of the main first drill hole, and obviously also cuts down on drill costs dramatically. Target area D will be taken down to at least 1,000 metres to begin with. Same deal, we'll set these drill holes up with optionality to have a parent with daughter holes off. Just a bit of a fly through here for people that are non-technical. So this is flying through from the north, heading to the south, looking at the Southern Porphyry target to give you an idea of dimensions and actual size of the target here we're dealing with. The block models you can see there are Southern Hemisphere's delineated resources today of central Cerro and Ferro deposits. But you can see the overlapping data sets here of the IP, chargeability, resistivity, the MT continuing at depth, all centrally located around this magnetic anomaly, which, like I said at the top, is one of these classic copper porphyry systems. So you can see the size and the scale of what we're dealing with here at Southern Porphyry and why we're so excited to get in and drill this in the coming weeks. So why are we targeting these copper porphyry systems? A perfect example here from a junior perspective is ATEX Resources. So they're TSXV listed. They got control of the Valeriano deposit or the prospect back in 2018. They've taken that from a 4 mil market cap Canadian to 650 mil market cap today. A lot of that was off the back of applying MT and drilling into that MT feature. You can see here, like I said, ATEX got control of this in 2018, but Valeriano has been explored for since the late 80s by Phelps Dodge and the like. It's only since completing this MT survey, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, which there's been a step change in the understanding of the porphyry system driving Valeriano. An IP survey was completed in 2011. That was, the drilling into that didn't hit anything, suggested they were too shallow. Come fast forward to 2022, they completed the MT survey, drilled into that, and it was a step change for the company. You can see some of the intercepts there, 1,045 metres at 0.53 copper equivalent, 1,270 metres at 0.59 copper equivalent. Very, very good grades, very, very large deposit. The thing to take away for investors is the size of this MT expression at surface, circa 1.5 k's across, eerily similar to what we've found at Southern Porphyry. The company that completed the MT survey, Southern Rock Geoscience, completed the MT survey for us at Southern Porphyry. The commentary is it's a dead ringer for Valeriano. I think the important thing to take away is the surface expression of this circa 1.5 k's has already delineated 1.45 billion tonnes to date in copper resource. We think we're absolutely in the right jurisdiction. We saw John talk to it at the top of this virtual conference. You know, Chile accounts for 24% of the world's copper production in 2024. I think one of the big things is BHP doubling down, diversification away from iron ore, doubling down in Chile. They're spending $13 billion US over the next decade. In terms of discoveries, John talked to that at the top. You know, discoveries are falling off a cliff. There's pressure here from a price perspective. We need more discoveries. We need to delineate more copper tons. Filo del Sol, in terms of depth, Filo del Sol, everybody's probably familiar with that. Known about since the 70s, 80s, the epithermal system above. BHP and Lundin took over Filo for 4.5 billion Canadian about a year ago. It's only since drilling into the depths below the epithermal system that they're seeing the top of the porphyry, which sits at around 600 metres, which is the main big porphyry driving Filo del Sol. Valeriana, which we just talked to, the top of that porphyry is about 1,200 metres. What we're looking for, we believe the system will be the top of our system at Southern Porphyry will be anywhere between 400 and 600 metres, and we'll take those holes right down to 1,600, as I said, in target area A. So as I said at the top, you know, we've had a very, very aggressive work program. We brought this transaction to market on the 16th of June. Since then, we've got out, we've completed the field mapping, we've completed the geophysical reprocessing and the associated modelling. We've generated the phase 1 drill targets, and we're currently seeking drill approvals and preparations for drill pads, etc. Logistics are well and truly underway. We're expecting those approvals in the next 2 weeks with a view to be drilling by the last week of September. So very, very aggressive, like I said, but that pretty much talks to the backers of FMR and what they wanted to see, which was get out, identify these assets and get in and drill them. So the investment case is pretty compelling. Tier 1 location, we've identified a company making asset whereby we've got a minimum spend of $1 million in one drill hole. So I look at that as a $1 million option fee on potentially a company making discovery. The right commodity, copper, all the tailwinds of the EV evolution and electrification. We've put together a very, very good team which is able to deliver from the embryonic stage through discovery, development and production. And like I talked to there, we're going to have very near-term news flow with drilling underway in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's it. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Oliver. That's very exciting. And you're on the cusp of starting to drill very soon. I saw your most recent announcement. It sounds like things are imminent. So Southern Porphyry is huge as a target. It's, what did you say, 1.5 by 1.5 by 2 Ks? Is that
correct?
Yeah, which is immense. Which is very exciting. Just in terms of timeline for the news flow, one question we had was, I mean, those deep holes can take a little while. So what's the potential timeline from once you start drilling to ultimately releasing your first assay, I guess?
Yeah, so each drill hole, obviously, the deeper it goes, the longer it takes, Alex. Target area A, we're going to take it down to 1,600 metres. That'll take around 5 weeks to drill. Target area D will take 3 to 4 weeks to drill, depending on drilling conditions, which we believe will be pretty good. So obviously, off the back of that, we'll send samples off for assay. You're looking at 4 to 6 weeks turnaround for assays. So we should have an answer by Christmas on Southern Porphyry in terms of if it's mineralised and as big as what we think it is.
Excellent. Well, Christmas is coming quickly, so it'll be really not that long to wait. Well, that's exciting. And you touched on it briefly at the beginning there. Obviously, you've had Yandal, so Mark Creasy joined the register recently. So has Mark sort of had input into the strategy, I guess?
Yeah, I went to Mark as an initial investor on this and pitched to him. Obviously, people that know me understood that I was general manager for Mark Creasy's exploration for a decade. So know Mark very, very well, understand what he likes to invest in. He very much got what we were trying to do with FMR, this strategy of identifying assets that move the needle. We'll transact on them, leveraging our abilities and get in there and create value by the drill bit. I think one of the big things from Mark Creasy's perspective that he liked was the permitting scenario in Chile, whereby we can get drill permitted inside 30 days, where he's used to having to deal with the long lead times of native title working in Australia. The opportunity to get in here and explore and turn over targets very quickly in Chile was very attractive to Mark Creasy.
Yeah, understandably. Well, thanks very much, Oliver. We'll have to wrap it up there. We've had a good, great presentation from you, and really appreciate you taking time to dial in and go through the opportunity in front of you right now with FMR.